Sorry guys, I'm having all sorts of technical difficulties. Let's see if we're actually streaming. Okay, it says I'm live. I hope this is working. Okay, well, we're just gonna go with it and hope that it's actually working right now. Okay, so today, first off, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Thank you so much for joining me here. Sorry I'm a little delayed. I've been having some issues with some streaming here. That's on my end, and I didn't start troubleshooting soon enough, so I apologize for that. But today we are going to create a DIY smile, you're on camera little placard that you can put on your house. So let me just give you the backstory of why we're doing this. I have had a couple of suspicious activity things going on at my house. My neighbors had some issues lately too. And unfortunately, I had to call and make a police report. And when I talked to the police officer, I asked him, I've got cameras. What else can I do to keep myself and my property safe? And he said that adding a sign to let everybody know that they're on camera, and then also I can create or purchase one of the signs that says like you have a security system. And he's like, really, those are probably the only other things that you could do to help deter people from targeting you. So here we are, and we are going to create that little visual so that people will maybe be thinking twice before they try something at my house. So let's jump into Silhouette Studio so that we can get started creating. Okay. So we're just going to draw this from scratch. And I guess I should show you this first. What I've got is I picked up a yellow plastic and folder. Picked this up from my local store here for like 99 cents. And I figured this plastic part should be perfect to stay outside. And all we're going to do is add some vinyl to it. So that's what we're going to do for this. So this is a standard letter size. So we can go ahead and change that here in Silhouette Studio. I'm going to change my page setup to letter. You'll notice I'm back in version 5 of Silhouette Studio. I'm trying to give it another go. Let's see if it's going to work. And we're going to grab our text tool. And I'm just going to write out smile. And then I'm going to do this as a different one just as we sort out the layout here. Not to. Oh my goodness. You're on camera. And then we're going to take this text. I'm just going to center it. That looks pretty good there. And, I'll work on sizing and everything here in a little bit. The other thing we're going to do, I'm using my Flexi Shapes. I'm in Business Edition. You could certainly do this in Standard Edition. Actually, we're just going to draw out a circle. So I'm just grab the ellipse tool. I'm going to hold down the Shift key to get a nice perfect circle. And let's make this a nice round number. I'm going to go to 5 inches. Okay, and then just to help you understand what we're looking at here, we're just like cutting out black outlines, and it's all going to be on this page is going to be yellow on our yellow folder. So what I want to do is make a copy of this, but we want to do an internal offset. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to come over to the modify, internal offset, and I want that distance to be pretty big because this is what it's going to cut the outline. Let's go. Let's go 2 point. Let me try that again. 0.22. Good Lord. Okay, apply. So let me show you what this looks like right now. I'm just going to give them both a fill color so that you can see right now that these are two different shapes, okay? And now what we're going to do, I'm going to rubber band select both of those, and I'm going to come to my modify panel, and we're going to make that a compound path. And what that's actually, let's make this simpler. We're just going to hit subtract. We're going to subtract the purple from the yellowy color, and then that's going to give my thick outline, and all of this is going to be black. And I just like to get rid of those outlines. So that's the outline of our smile, of our face, smiley face. There we go. And then let's draw some little eyes here. I think that'll look good. I'm going to fill everything in with black as we go along, and I just like to get rid of those outlines. So I'm going to hold down Alt or Option on a Mac, click and drag a copy out to this side, and then again, Alt or Option, click and drag to make a nose. We might get rid of that nose. And then for the fun part is drawing a smile line. I'm going to look at my flexi shapes. I don't have anything that's going to like be a great for a smile. So we're going to make our own. And I believe you have to have business edition. No, you don't. This you can do a standard edition. We're going to draw out an arc. So I'm just going to start it here. And I'm going to draw out my arc that far. And then as I peel this side, you can see, well, that's going to be way too big. That's all right. But there's my 80-degree arc. And then we're just going to right click, convert that to path. So now we have this big smile path, and then I can make it a little bit smaller to draw my smile line. And then I want to show you when I fill this in, notice it doesn't fill in anything because it's not actually a closed off shape. Right now, it's just a line. So what we can do is give it a line color, and then I'm going to give that a line thickness, a point value, and I'm going to try to make it as thick as this is here. So let's try and add this a different color so we can see. I'm going to make this the same thickness. That looks pretty good right there. So I'm at 15.75 on my thickness for my smile line. And I'm just going to zoom out, so Control and minus key, so we can see what we've got. I think that looks good. I think I'm going to get rid of the nose. Yeah, looks better without the nose. And then the eyes, you could decide, maybe I want them a little bit rounder. Just pull those out. If you want them to be the same, again, we'll alter option, click and drag. We'll select both of these. And let's align them at the top. And then I like the distance. We can Control plus G to group. And then I'm going to select my smile outline with those eyeballs, and I'm going to hit center, this little quick button up here. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Well, that's okay. They're centered, and now I'm just going to use my arrow key to bring them back up to the top. I didn't really want them centered. I wanted them aligned center. That looks good right there. I'm going to turn this back to black. And that should be fine. And then now we can just think about our text. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. I want this to be really nice and legible. So I want to pick something that is going to be bold, that is not necessarily pretty, but I want to make sure that you get the picture that this is what we're doing. And my favorite font to do that with is called Impact Font. And I do believe that it is a font that is just automatically added to your computer. Those are really close together. So the other thing I'm going to do is come down here to character spacing, and we're at 100. And I'm just going to space those out to 130%. I like the way that looks. And let's make this a lot bigger. I think that looks good. And then this one here, I'm also going to do impact. So I can just type it in and it'll find it. And I think we're just gonna, yeah, let's do that same 130%. And then I can just make that a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna take that line spacing down 75%. I like the way that looks. And then I'm gonna sit it there. Let's group our smiley face. So I rubber band selected everything, right click and group. And then I'm just gonna grab everything and then come over here and I'm going to align them center. So there's a lot of yellow that's gonna be left on the edges and not so much around the middle. So the other thing I can think about is, do I want this sign to be horizontal or vertical? And maybe I want it to be the other way. So let's just do this. I'm gonna hit landscape, just so we can see if we like the way that's gonna look better. And I think then everything's gonna have to be smaller, so I don't think I like that. And then I think it'll be okay. And we're just gonna leave it like that. And let's go ahead and just even out the spacing between everything. That looks good. And let's give these our black lettering as well and get rid of that outline. Okay, and then I'm going to grab all of these, I'm going to group it together, and then I just want to center it to the page to make sure we like the way that's going to look. And then again, imagine that background's going to be yellow. I think that's going to look great. So the way we're going to do this today is we're going to cut this matless. So I'm actually going to come over here and tell it that my media size is 12 by 12. I do not need to change any of the sizing on what I have here, but I am going to give it a bounding box for weeding. I guess a weeding box, not a bounding box. And I'm going to try to cut that pretty tight so that I'm not wasting any vinyl. And then I can just place, come on, grab everything, Control plus G, group that together. And I just want to, I'm gonna cut on this side. I don't cut on this side of my mat very often. Oh, and I told you we're doing this matless. Duh. Page setup. Machine type, I'm using the Cameo 5. The feed type is always going to be auto. Cutting mat, we're gonna say none. And then when you do it that way, you see now I've got my cut border on there and it shrinks that up. So let's see if it's all still gonna fit. Oh, good, it is. Love when that happens. And then I can just bring that way over to this corner. That looks lovely. Okay, let's come to the sun panel. Just want to make, okay, that's what I was afraid of. This right here is just going to cut a straight line right there. It's not going to cut that outline because it's still just an arc. So let's go back to design. We're going to ungroup everything. Ungroup. Ungroup. And then with this guy here, let's see if we weld it. Nope. let's come over to our modify panel. If we make it a compound path, let's see if that fixes it. Nope. Okay, so now if I give them, well, that is our outline, and we made that really big and thick. Let me think about this for a second here. And we weren't able to convert it to path. We already did that. So this is just a line. Okay, let me take this back down to no point value. So it's just a line. Let's give that a red line color just so we can see what we've got here. And then, so what if we do an internal offset? Let's take that distance. Oh. Apply. Didn't really do anything, did it? Okay. Control plus Z to undo. All right. Well, I used to know how to do this really well. So what we're going to do, we're going to make this a lot easier. I'm going to pull a copy of this over to the side. And then I'm going to grab my knife tool. And if I cut it about right here. So right now I have it set for auto apply, solid, straight line. And you have to start outside of your object and cut straight across. You hold down the shift key, you'll get a nice straight cut. And that should have auto applied it, and there we go. And then this guy, I can just kind of shrink however I want. Ooh, let's see. Control Z. We'll just shrink at the corner here to make that a little bit smaller. Let's get rid of that. Bring that back in. And now we have a shape. Look at that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Might make it just a little bit wider. Okay, that gets the message across. Now if we go back to the sun panel, and now you see you've got your outlines on everything. Okay, so let's talk about the difference. When you use the arc, these are all line tools, meaning it's only drawing a line. So that's what we got here. We got a line. So if you double tap, now it's just a line. And then what I should have done was hit convert to path. It's not letting me convert this to a path, because it doesn't really know what to do to make that a path. So it was only going to draw us a line. So we did it the other way because that was a line tool. So it only gave us a line. So that's why we went ahead and made that full circle. So remember what we did with this. We did one circle and then another circle, subtracted those to get this thickness to make this its own thing. And then we just took the knife tool, cut it in half, and then resized a little bit here to make our smile line. So now we can get rid of everything here. Our design looks good. Everything here is going to cut just like we want. And then we're going to come over here to vinyl, doing Orcal 651. I'm going to cut with the auto blade. I'm going to turn that blade depth up to 2. Everything else I'm going to leave alone. I don't want to do an automatic cross cut because I'm putting a weeding box around this, so the rest of what's on my page I can save for later. So all that looks good. So let's go over to Silhouette and get everything set up. All right, so for matless cutting, I'm just gonna set this in here, and then the first thing you need to do is make sure your rollers are going to be where you want them. So this roller right here is way out here where it would be for a mat. So I need to go ahead, I'm just going to leave that sitting right about there. And I'm just going to bring this in to make sure that it's over the edge of my sheet. And that looks good there. So I'm going to go ahead and just load this in, making sure everything's going to grab. And did. Everything grabbed really well. I'm just going to bring this one in ever so slightly, a little bit more. And then you can adjust these ones however you would like. These middle ones don't matter quite so much, but all that looks really good. So now I can come back to Silhouette Studio. Here we are. Everything is set up. I'm going to hit send. Everything's ready. We can hit send again. And then it's going to go ahead and cut all of that out and get that made for us. Okay, and then in the meantime, so while that's cutting, I want to tell you about this really cool quiz that I've created for you. It's the Silhouette Personality Quiz, and I just got it finished this morning, and I can't wait for you to try it out. So you're going to go to craftychristiescreations.com/quiz, and you're going to find out what your silhouette crafting personality is. And I can't wait. You'll have to let me know what your personality is. And there's 4 different choices for it. I've personally gone through all 4. I kind of fit in, depends on the project really, as to which my crafting personality is. But I think as you go through the quiz, it's like 6 or 7 questions. It'll give you a really good general idea of your crafting personality. So give that a try and let me know what you think. Back to what we were doing. Okay, so it's still cutting everything out here. It looks like it's almost done. And the reason things cut shorter, why our cutting area is shorter when we're doing matless cut, is because everything needs to stay in on those rollers. And that's why it can't cut all the way to the edge, because otherwise it would fall off the rollers and then you would lose your sheet. So you can see that's like really close right there. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, it's gonna tweak. It's not gonna work out. But it worked out just fine. And it's just cutting out that box around it right now. Okay, it's all done cutting. Oh, I must have had the automatic crosscut picked. We don't want you to do that. So sometimes, yeah, it was gonna do the automatic crosscut. I guess I should always open that and make sure it's not picked. So sometimes instead of hitting the pause button and totally goofing everything up, I like to just pull that out. And, but the funny thing is when it does that, like everything, it'll go a little further in, so you lose what you were doing and you just have to pick it up from the back side. The automatic crosscut is great when you're doing a like a roll, but not so great when you're doing a sheet like we are. So let's look at what we've got going on here. Okay, here is our design. I hope you can see that pretty good. And let's go ahead and just start weeding it out. So I'm gonna come down here and just pick up this area from the weeding box and making those small adjustments by doing, your silhouette normally wants to do a blade depth of 1. I find that this blade depth of 2 just gives me such better cuts. Come on, this corner didn't want it to go well. There we go. And when I have that little bit, that blade depth of 2 instead of a blade depth of 1, just gives it a little bit deeper cut. It's still a beautiful kiss cut, but you'll see I have a lot less trouble weeding it and everything just peels up so easy. all in one piece and just save so much time. So those small adjustments to your cut settings will make all the difference. All right, and now I'm just going to weed out the centers of my letters here. There's only a couple. Okay. Oop, that didn't come off. Come on. We're just getting all these pieces weeded out. If you're just now joining us, we are creating a Smile You're on Camera sign that you can put around your home to help deter trouble. Let's put it that way. We're deterring trouble. So we just did this as a matless cut of permanent vinyl. We created this design in Silhouette Studio from scratch. And we're just weeding everything out. And look how easy that was. Okay, project's weeded. Look at that. So now that that's all ready to go, looking good, let's talk about our envelope. Why do I keep calling it that? It's a folder. This is a $1 folder. So what I did here, I just kind of practiced on this side and I took my scissors and cut it and then I cracked a little spot. So we're gonna try something different here. I've got this I did with scissors. This time I'm using my little, what is this, like an X-Acto knife sort of deal. And I'm going to tempt fate with my ability to cut a straight line. I'm gonna try to go down this line here. If you need to, and this is probably a really good idea for me to do it as well, is to bring in a ruler and just line everything up. This grid mat that's underneath makes it so much easier to just line everything up there. I'm a little bit above and below. And then, you know, you've got that line across the envelope, here I go again, across the folder as well. And then now I've just got that straight edge that I can kind of run right up against. And this is on a self-healing mat. So let's see if this is actually even cutting a straight line for me. Oh, okay, well, not too bad. I've got some cleaning up that I can do there, but that worked out really well. And then for this corner, this is where I really goofed up using the scissors. So what I'm going to do is just see if I can't get, yeah, that's better. Get this X-Acto knife and I'm just going to cut right down that seam. That was so much nicer. Let's do that same process to cut down this seam. And this might be an easier way to do it. I'm just like pulling out right there. And then I can just come through and just run it down that seam. So you might want to do that down the center seam as well. Now I have that beautiful straight cut. Just have a little cleaning up to do right here on this corner. And then if you want to get really particular, try this. See if I can't keep that straight. It's actually not as hard to keep straight when there's already a crease there. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the ruler helps, and then other times I feel like it actually makes things worse. Okay, we've got that all cut. Let me clean up my scraps. And the cool thing is all of this can get recycled now. And really, you know, I cracked this one, but I could decide later. I'm going to hold on to this. I might decide to put another one in my in my front window. And then this, I don't know, toss. And then this one I'm going to just put on like the garage of my house. So as you pull in the driveway, you'll notice. So now what we need to do is let's get this, let's do this one step at a time. Actually, yeah, let's clean this off. Let's clean this off. I got my rubbing alcohol. So Now you're going to treat this just like you do anything else. I've just got my rubbing alcohol here that I put in a little spray bottle that I picked up from the dollar store. I find it's just a little bit easier to use that way. And then I'm just coming in with my lint-free cloth. And then I'm just going to give this a nice wipe. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Okay, and then I'm going to try to carefully set that aside and not touch it with my fingers anymore. Okay, so got my design here. Now, I recently tried this new transfer tape, and it is quickly becoming my new favorite. It's clear, it does not have a backing on it, and it doesn't have grid lines. The no backing is not really a big deal, but the no grid lines is a bit troublesome for me. And so I'm just going to try to lay this on here. I think it'll still be okay. Oh, and I've already... Nope. Well, I've already put a big old wrinkle in that transfer tape, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. And then I can come in with my scraper. The reason I'm not going to try to lift that because the S was already trying to peel up, and I need to maintain this distance between all of my pieces. So I'm just going to let that wrinkle stay there and not worry about it. But I'm going to do a really good job making sure there's no wrinkles in my actual vinyl. I tell you guys, this crafting live with you it just really makes me nervous because I feel like I have to rush, but rushing is how you end up with silly mistakes like this. So I'm trying to do better about not having to rush just because you're watching with me, because I feel like these lives that I've been doing, there's been a screw up in every single one of them, and it's all just because I'm rushing, because I'm nervous. There you have it. That's the real deal. Okay, so my weeding box is great and everything, but I'm gonna try to just do a little cut because this is not enough to keep for scraps, neither is that up there. So, oh, perfect. That's right on the line. Look at this. We're going to do two things here. I'm just going to cut this off, and I think I'm just going to use, instead of scissors, so I have my X-Acto knife out. I'm just going to cut it right here at the edge. So now the sticky side is facing me on this transfer tape. We're just going to cut it right here on this edge. Still not straight. Okay, transfer tape we can put away. And then I made that cut. Here it is, this cut. So I don't think you can quite see. If I hold it up to the light, there is a line right here, and that is a little bit inside my weeding box, but it'll make it, it's not in the way of my design. And because there's not a lot of scraps on the top or the bottom, it's going to be easier to just cut this off. And then I can peel off this little bit of transfer that's on here. It won't affect anything. And then this is a scrap that I can use for later. Here's my design. And we're not going to worry about this wrinkle. So what we're going to do for this wrinkle, because I want this part to be flat and I want that part to be flat. So I'm going to come in here with my scraper tool, and I'm just going to try to lay this this transfer tape, and just let it sit right here and make itself a little edge. And I think that'll help. Oops, things are falling off the table. Okay, so now we can come in with our scraper, make sure all this is scraped down really well. And then let's go ahead and lift this off. I'm okay with grabbing everything that's on here. I can do a little reverse weeding. So see, now we have the little words are hard today. The bend in the transfer tape, but all the vinyl is nice and flat. So I'm going to touch up here where it's not on my vinyl, and I'm going to peel off this extra vinyl. Some people find this reverse weeding to be easier to do it, to like pick your centers out of your letters and everything like that. I think for me, it probably just depends on the project. And this new transfer tape that I have, and I'll leave a link for it. I bought this from Amazon. It had a lot of great reviews. It's definitely thicker than really any transfer tape I've ever used before. It's got a good stickiness to it. It's not too sticky. And I've been using it on some different projects lately. And it's been working really great. But it is a little bit thick, so you need to make sure you have good sharp scissors to make it cut well. Okay, so this is ready. So now I can bring back in this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to line this up. Let's see, we have 8.5 by 11. Let's just come all the way to this corner here. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to just use the grid lines to help me. Oh, and look at that, it's wider, but it's definitely, looks like about 11 inches tall. So we have that part right. And the fun part is trying to figure this out. So 9, so 4.5, I think it's going to be 4 3/4 is going to be our center. So I'm going to try and just, right between the O and the N is going to be our center on this. Come on, vinyl. There we go, transfer tape. Fold for me. Okay, so the O and the N is going to be the center. I like to try to fold things up when I'm trying to center them. And then I'm going to look right down here. I think that's good top and bottom wise. And I'm just going to try to see if I can't see those lines. Let's get this lined up on a line. And get that lined up. Don't stick down yet. Dang it. So this is where some people would probably say, pull out your parchment paper and use that to help you lay this on. Sometimes I think less is more. And this is going to be one of those occasions where I think less is more. So looking at the O and the N, I'm making sure I think the height's right. And then I'm just going to try to get that lined up right where I think is good. I think the height's good. Looks pretty straight. All right, we're going for it. And then I'm going to come in. It's just barely sitting there. So I'm going to start in the center. Press up. And I'm only going to press up to my smiley face. And then I'm going to press down. Because remember, we have that wrinkle in our vinyl. And we want that to stay, or not in our vinyl, in our transfer tape. And we want that to stay on our transfer tape, not in our vinyl. So I'm just going to do that. And then we're going to come up here. And now we can push down on our letters and look at how straight that is. I'm just going to give these a really good burnishing to make sure that everything is stuck on there nice and straight. That popping is an air bubble. I'm just making sure all my letters are on there. There's no air bubbles on my letters. Looks good. You want to see how straight that is at the top? Look at that. We're right on that line, just about. A little bit crooked, but you know what? For me, this is probably the straightest anything's ever going to get. Okay, so now, whoop. I do find though that you really have to burnish things on here really well. This transfer tape likes to hold on. And this is permanent vinyl. I'm using Oracal 651 in black. I'm just using a sheet. That was a 12 by 12 sheet that I used. All right, we'll slowly peel back this corner here. And it is really not wanting to come up. So what we're gonna do, flip this guy over. And then sometimes when you press from the back, makes all the difference for you. Especially with this because it's kind of see-through, so you can see what parts of your letters are not pressed down. So see how there's the U right here, and there's a couple little spots right there that aren't pressed as well. So then I can really come in with my scraper. Maybe those are little air bubbles, but I can come in with my scraper now and I can just really put some elbow grease into it and scrape the heck out of it until all of those letters look like they're on there really well. That's a lot better. Now let's see if this will pick up. Yeah, that's better. And the neat part is that I can take this piece of transfer tape and I can apply it back to that roll and save it for and use it again on another project, which, you know, saves just some more money doing it that way when you can reuse things. There we go. I might end up, this is still pretty see-through and I didn't really think about that. Might need to, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was just thinking when I go to put it up, you'll see how I mount it and stuff, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I haven't decided. So where I'm thinking about putting it on my house, it's siding, but it's like a I don't know. It's like a composite. It's some kind of weird, I don't know if it's not quite cement, but it is really difficult material to try to drill into or do anything like that. So at first I was thinking maybe I would just like put some nails and just nail this on there, but I don't think a command strip's gonna work. Depending on what kind of, where you're putting this, you could also try a command strip. So I haven't quite sorted out how exactly, see how this is peeling up. So we're just going to be careful when it's, we'll just lay that back down. So I just have to maybe get a little creative with exactly how I'm going to apply this. So let me just fix this here. So things you got to think about with permanent vinyl is you need to make sure that the surface that you're putting it on is not porous. And this is pretty, I don't think this is porous material. I think it's got some texture, but it's not wanting to stick real well. So it might be a little bit porous, which would explain why this stuff doesn't want to stick down that great. And also circles are, ow, no, don't fold my vinyl. Circles are really hard to get to stick. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cut this transfer tape and get chunks of it out of my way. So that way I don't completely ruin this project by peeling up the wrong things. Okay, this piece I can put back on the roll and save it. Now what I want to do, I'm just going to come back through with my scraper. And I'm going to try to just see if I can't very gently. There was a little crease right there. Pick that out. And then I'm not using any pressure. I'm just trying to get that to lay back on there. And now I can come in with your scraper, with your finger. Just make sure it remembers where it's supposed to lay. You know, kind of picking up that side. And now I'm going to try from up here and peel from this direction. Boy. So I've done probably 7 or 8 projects with this transfer tape so far, and I have never had this much trouble yet trying to get my projects back off the transfer tape. So I think it's just the base material that I'm using might be a little bit porous, which would make this vinyl a little bit more difficult to stick to. So I'm just trying to use my scraper to hold that vinyl down while I'm very, very gently peeling that transfer back. Could you imagine if we would have done this in like a cursive font? This would have been a nightmare. Okay, we got the S. I'm just going to burnish that on there a little bit. Looks good. And we're going to do the same thing here with the M. I'm just trying to catch that corner, hold that down. It's always something, right? Tell me, when's the last time you've had a craft project go perfectly start to finish? I think it's probably been, it happens sometimes for me, sometimes, but usually there's always somewhere I struggle. Today it's going to be with this transfer tape. And it's really stuck onto that vinyl. But it's probably been a couple weeks since I had a project that just went perfectly for me. And it was a card, so I would expect those to go better because, you know, I'm doing that all the time. Whereas like heat transfer vinyl, regular, this permanent vinyl, it's not what I'm doing on a weekly basis. Whereas the cutting cardstock and creating, you know, cards and paper crafts, that's what I'm doing multiple times a week. So they're more likely to do things right the first time. It's just whatever your experience is. And as you get more experience doing the same type of craft over and over again, you will not run into so many of these problems. And this is the first time I've ever tried to do this with the plastic envelopes. And here I am. They're not envelopes, folders, plastic folders. And while I thought it would be a great idea, because it mimics kind of the same sort of type of material that you would get for like if you purchased one of these signs from the store. But the cool part is, even with these little bits that are, you know, taking a while, I forgot to look at what the price of one of these signs goes for, but I bet you it's every bit of, you know, $10, $15, depending on where you're at. And we just made this for, you know, okay, so the vinyl, probably like, I don't know, let's say a sheet of vinyl costs $1. And then, you know, costs us a little bit of time. There we go. Some transfer tape. But all in all, excuse me, we're in this project, you know, for maybe $5. So this piece right here tried to wrinkle. So let me get my weeding stick here. And I'm just gonna come in here and peel up some more of this circle and see if we can't convince it to not do that. So very lightly coming in with my finger and just trying to lay that down. I might have to come around and pick up some more. Remember, this is also where we were having some issues earlier with our circle. Circles are hard. You have one spot that doesn't lay down perfectly like you want it, and it's going to be difficult. Okay, so now sometimes just doing that just helps it kind of redefine where it's supposed to go. Let it do it on its own, and then you can come in and just kind of press it down, and that took care of all of our wrinkles. So I'm just going to burnish that really well now that it's in a good place. Well, we got one little wrinkle right there that I'm just going to try to scrub out of there. Got it. Okay. Just give these a good burnish on here. Okay, and there we go. So thank you so much for joining me. Here is our completed Smile You're on Camera sign. Like I said, I'm going to be putting this up kind of on my garage, so you see it when you first pull in, because there's cameras all over my house to help keep me safe. So this will go up there. I don't know if command strips are going to work or if I'm going to have to drill some screws in to hold this up here, but using a plastic folder, not an envelope, folder, and some permanent vinyl, this should hold up to the elements sitting outside. So before you go, remember to check out that Silhouette Crafting Personality Quiz. You can go to craftychristiescreations.com/quiz and take that there and let me know what your personality is. Okay, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.